What are we doing here today? We're recording a podcast. You ready to rock
I guess
and
I
roll?
am, yeah.
Okay.
Ready to rock. Still a bit jet lagged.
Who gets jet lag anymore? Who is Romano Ruijtenburg? Tell me a little bit how you found Omniboost.
I started out as an intern with our CEO and founder, Case. I didn't know what he was doing. It was something with hotels, where everything with Omniboost really happened for me.
Sometimes it's easy to understand what we do and hard to explain. At the end of the day, what we help our clients and our customers do, find the right solutions, the right systems.
Conversations that we have with clients, whether it's a smaller boutique hotel or a large chain with over 100 hotels, in the end, they're all looking for a solution that does what it needs to do. They all do something a bit differently, but it is so important to them to do it differently because it works for them. We, spark questions coming up from clients. We give answers. What we have is a very deep understanding even before we have signed a contract.
And we don't want to sell you everything. We can. The idea is, what is the biggest impact for you? What is the biggest pain point?
Definitely shared with everyone involved is, if you need anything, I would be happy to jump on this meeting because we've done this together. The fact that we're actually proud about the solution makes us into a company that is still happy to, talk about it with the clients later on. It means that we build long-term partnerships.
It makes it fun, does it not? Hey y'all, how we doing? I am Rob Napoli, the host of Hospitable. Today is a really special episode and one that we've been wanting to record for a while, but I had to get my direct sales lead, Romano Ruijtenburg, to New York. And I had him back in New York end of October. Unfortunately, we had 1.5 million meetings on the books. It was a quick and fast week that culminated in us going out for Halloween, showing the Halloween parade. But we wanted to really drive this conversation and talk about the Omniboost selling cycle and how we approach sales, how we do consultative selling here at Omniboost, and really talk a little bit more about who we are, what we do, and why we do it. So it is my honor to jump into the show with Romano, our sales lead for the direct team here at Omniboost. Enjoy the show. Romano, how are we doing, my guy?
Yeah, doing well, Rob. Third day already in New York. Still a bit jet lagged, in all honesty. But doing well overall.
Jet lag. Who gets jet lag anymore?
Yeah, I still do. I mean, it's getting better, but it still happens.
I mean, I flew over to Europe, 6 times, 7 times this year.
You did, yeah.
It's still jet lag will catch you. You gotta find the way to do it. So for me, 24 hours before I fly, no caffeine, which is helpful. Lots of water. I try to adjust my sleeping schedule. So go to bed later, get up earlier, kind of adjust a few things. And then the first thing I do, so before I fly, especially across the Atlantic, is carbs. So I eat a plate of pasta. That's the meal before I fly out. Tend not to eat. I always get the meal on the plane, but I will usually just eat the dessert and maybe the bread and pick at it. But I try not to eat on the plane. Pasta is a big one ahead of time. So you have carbs, slow burning. It's not going to spike you as hard, and it's easier on the transition of your body as you're going up in the plane. And then when I land, the first thing I always do is either pasta or a burger. So again, protein, carbs, slow acting. And then for one of the first things I do is I take my shoes off and walk around barefoot in the new place that I'm at. Really help ground. I know some people think woo, but that has helped me. And as you know, I love my coffee. So to go 24 hours without coffee or caffeine is hard, but it's one of the big difference makers in avoiding jet lag for me.
Interesting. It's almost like if you have an entire process on this. I got to be honest, I did lose you when you said 24 hours without any caffeine. That's not going to work for me. I'm a big coffee guy, you know that?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it is the hardest part of that process of traveling, especially because there's nothing better to me than a cup of coffee. And for whatever reason, when I'm on a plane, I don't like Diet Coke. Ever. I don't drink Diet Coke. When I'm on a plane, all I crave is a Diet Coke. Don't understand it. Still don't understand it. And so 6 hours with temptation of drinks, it's tough. I know it's tough, but you'll adjust it. But again, you got to find that process. I'm just sharing that with you in the sense of it's something that has helped me as I traveled, and you're starting to travel a lot more for work. And that's why we're here today. We have you in New York. In fact, I brought the whole direct sales team in to New York City as we sit here early December. This podcast will probably drop, I think, in January. But we brought you in for the end of the year, you and the team for the end of the year, because we really want to talk about what do we expect for next year? How do we continue to go to market? How do we tend to expand the market? And honestly, changing the narrative a bit, right? When we think about Omniboost, what are we? Who are we, right? And we're putting a big push of expanding our service offerings and what we can do. And that's really exciting. So we really want to bring the team in, align, set clear goals, KPIs, kind of adjusting a little bit the way that we structure what we call our direct team. So here at Omniboost, we have two sides. I know I'm talking a lot to set the stage, but we have two sides of our business. We have our partner channel. We have amazing partners and we've had amazing guests like Richard Walter from Muse, Jacob Messina from Stay in Touch. We've had folks on from other partners like MarketMan and Meal Ticket. So we have that partner channel, and that's where we've really built the business, building integrations. When we think of PMS to accounting, POS to PMS, and POS to accounting. So that's the partner channel. The other side is what we call our direct side of the business, and this is the team that's really focused on kind of our newer market and what we've really grown last year. When we think of the deal with Strawberry, the project we had with MCR, we'll get into the project we just completed with Midas Hospitality out of St. Louis. We're really working with management companies and hospitality groups and hotels, even independent hotels, directly to develop a data unification process for them. And I'm excited to kind of share on this podcast some of the systems, but I'll let you do the reveal on some of the systems that we've opened up this year, thanks to the heavy lift of you. So what we're going to do today is I want to give you a little insight to who Romano is, and then we're going to talk about what it means to be consultative sellers here at Omniboost and what we expect to do later this year. So
sounds good, Rob.
I know I did a little bit of a diatribe, and if you're still listening to this episode, I promise it's worth it. But I wanted to give the listeners out there a little bit of an understanding of why this matters to us, because I feel very passionate about what we're building and what we're doing, as you know, because you hear me talk about it week in, week out. So Romano, why don't you give a little bit of, I love telling my Romano story. And we had a long conversation about this yesterday, but why don't you give a quick background? Who's Romano Ruijtenburg? And tell me a little bit how you found Omniboost.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks, Rob. So it is a bit of an interesting story, or I would say a coincidence, really. So just to start with the basics, my name is Romano. I'm 27 years old. I'm a Dutch guy, and I've been with Omniboost for 4.5 years now, almost 5 years. I started out as an intern, and yeah, the background story as of why I started out as an intern at Omniboost, because Omniboost is a company that is based in Zeeland, the Netherlands. It is where I grew up, but it is not where I lived for the past 10 years. So I was finalizing my master thesis in finance, but I wanted to go to a place abroad to finish my master's. That place was Madrid. I don't think I chose the city for the fact that it has a university or multiple universities, but rather because of the good food and the great weather, if I'm being honest.
I mean, good food, great weather, especially, I've spent a lot of time in the Netherlands. Sunshine, warm weather is always great. I chose to go to Milan, when I was following my now wife, but, I wanted good food. I wanted that Italian culture. I wanted to drink Aperol spritz.
Exactly.
I had a good education. I got to coach American football. Like, those were part of the reasons I went to Milan and into Italy. But I'm with you. Sometimes, we choose schools, yes, for the degree, but also for the experience. That I think, to me, experience is not about length of experience. It's about experience gained. And so when you make decisions for experience, to me, that's more important. So I love that you talk about that as part of it. So sorry for interrupting.
No worries, yeah. So I really chose Madrid for the good university and indeed the weather, the food, just everything added up, in all honesty. I stopped renting my place back in Tilburg, which is a Dutch student town. And, I packed my bags and I was ready to fly out to Madrid. Just, I would say 1 week before I would fly out, my university told me, you can't go because there's too many COVID cases. That was back in 2020. So we had the COVID pandemic going on. Obviously, people all over the world were affected. So yes, it was a bit, I was a bit sad that I couldn't go, but I also realized, there's people, losing relatives and the like. So it was a minor thing for me. But yeah, I didn't have anything going on in the Netherlands really back then because I would write my master thesis. I couldn't do that in the Netherlands. My university told me I had to postpone it with at least 6 months because I didn't do it in Madrid, so I had to wait. So I decided I need to do something. I'm not going to sit on the couch and don't do anything. So I started looking into my LinkedIn network, looking into previous internships that I did. And I actually did an internship with our CEO and founder, Kees, 7 years before that, when I finished high school.
Oh, like early days back in the other company.
Yes, when he had another company. So I knew Kees from back in 2014, I guess. And I reached out to him because I still followed him on LinkedIn, and he was doing pretty cool stuff. I didn't know what he was doing. It was something with hotels. He was telling me about pipelines, about repositories. And I was like, I don't get any of that because my background is in finance. But yeah, I reached out to Kees. We, scheduled a meeting, and we just started talking. And that's where everything with Omniboost really happened for me.
I love that. And I always like to joke with Romano, and when I always introduce him on calls, I always say, Romano is, a lot of times when we work, because of what we do a lot of stuff with accounting and finance and the likes. I always, a lot of times people like to introduce themselves as recovering accountants working in the tech side of things. And I always like to joke that, Romano, if he had gone on his path, was bound for big corporate finance world, but we recruited him to Omniboost and changed his path. Partly because of, world, what happened in the world at the time, partly because, life happens and changes. And so we're glad to have you. And Romano started on our onboarding team, building pipelines for some of our biggest partners. So he's seen, so you didn't know what pipelines and repositories were then, but you sure as hell know.
Right now I do. Yes, I can dream of them.
So Romano worked his way up from, really working on the front line, building pipelines, onboarding some of our biggest customers and biggest partners in the early days. Been a part of, the 0 to 1 and the 1+ as we've really grown. And it was about a year ago. We met almost 2.5 years ago.
Back in 2021, we met in New York City.
Yeah, in New York City. You guys came over. That was the Korean barbecue night. That's a story for another time.
Yes.
And you were still kind of in a transition period from onboarding and getting more on the sales side and doing some partner management. I joined back in 23, early 23. And then by the end of 23, we were really looking at the commercial team. And that's when I stepped into my current role of chief commercial officer and taking over all of sales, marketing, and brand, from being head of brand and marketing to full on commercial. And we looked at the team and we had a lot of kind of people in places that were doing dual roles. And I remember, you were like, I want to be commercial. I want to sell. I want to work with our customers more. And so got you kind of fully aligned. And we were like, let's see if we can go. Let's see if we can go direct. Let's see if we can go build out this new channel. And knew you were the right person for it. So we brought you on. I think that what's made this so successful as the building is because we don't take a traditional sales approach. And I know this can be, pedantic and you could look at it in different ways. And everyone says they sell differently. I think sales is sales is sales. But I do think that there's different ways to go about the way we sell. And we like to talk about us as a consultative SaaS company, a consultative sales company.
We do, yes.
So what does consultative sales and consultative selling mean to you? And how do you approach that in your day-to-day? Because I obviously have strong opinions on it, but I'd love to hear, and I'm sure they want to hear from you more about how you think about it and go about it as the sales leader for us on the direct side.
Yeah, definitely. So indeed, what I did in the first 2 years at Omniboost is really building those pipelines, as we call them, or integrations. I'm not a coder, but I can now read a pipeline and understand what it's doing. And because I did more than 1,000 of those integrations, building them, testing them, doing meetings with clients, that's really when I learned about what exactly does our product do. Obviously, we have other products right now, but PMS connectivity into accounting systems is still one of our main and core businesses. I think because I did it for 2.5 years and did thousands of meetings and integrations, it really, shaped me into the role I am in right now. And it's just my second nature to explain everything to clients. It's also, a disadvantage every now and then, because sometimes clients don't want to go that deep, especially not in the first meeting, but it's just within me to engage the client into our complete solution and not just talk about what it does and how it transfers data.
Yeah. And I think that's where what I think is special and how and why we're so big on consultative SaaS and consultative selling is sometimes it's easy to understand what we do and hard to explain. At Omniboost, we're a data unification platform. We're a data unification company with a platform that we've built. And they used to think of us as an integrator partner. Some people used to say you call us middleware. And originally we kind of started out that way, building integrations. And as we've built and scaled, we've created a full unification layer and a full-on platform that is configuring systems. And when we talk about repositories and things, it can get very technical. But at the end of the day, what we help our clients and our customers do is find the right solutions, the right systems. Sometimes clients come to us and they don't know which systems to use. Sometimes they have systems in place, but they don't integrate with each other. And the transfer data is a very repetitive, manually laborious process. And when you're thinking of a hotel or a restaurant, that can be anywhere from hundreds to thousands to hundreds of thousands of transactions on a monthly basis when you look at some of these large hotels and processing, turnover of rooms to room charges to all these things. And on the back end in the accounting world, you have to reconcile, you have to make sure that your numbers are straight. And what we do at a base level is automate all those processes with a semantics layer to make sure that the data gets transferred into at the end of the day, customers like to use the PMS as a source of truth, but accounting is where it all has to end up and it has to be right. Otherwise, the effects downhill of that being wrong are many. And we have created a way to reduce errors, reduce time, and have our clients focus on what really matters: customer growth, customer satisfaction, reconciliation processes, and more focused in on the product side of things or the experience side versus the manual labor of entry.
That's correct. And that's exactly what I'm telling clients throughout the process. And I mean, I think that in all of the conversations that we have with clients, whether it's a smaller boutique hotel or a large chain with over 100 hotels, in the end, they're all looking for a solution that, easily said, does what it needs to do, which means transferring the entries from the PMS into the accounting system. However, what's also a thing that we do see in this industry is that every client is different. And there is no consistency across large hotel chains. There is no consistency across smaller hotels. They all do something a bit differently, but it is so important to them to do it differently because it works for them, and they've done it like this for the past 10 years. And I think this is also something that other people within Omniboost do when talking to prospects and clients, is we really engage with them about the complete solution. So not just about what the solution does, but also about the onboarding process and what we do after a connection goes live. And because we engage about that entire process, we, spark questions coming up from clients. We give answers. We ask them questions. And ultimately, what we have is a very deep understanding of what solution we need to enable for the client even before we have signed a contract. And I think for me, that is what consultative selling is really about.
Yeah. And I love that you kind of walk that through, because it could be that we, at the end of the day, are, we get a contract and it's for PMS to accounting. But before we sign that contract, we've already discussed PMS to accounting, understanding what a data services layer could look like, understanding what POS you have enabled, what additional systems are being brought in, whether we're integrating or connecting or not. We're understanding that full picture and walking you through how those different changes affect that, so that even if it's this part of the solution, they understand the full landscape and we understand the full landscape with them, and have walked through how we can help make all those different things efficiently. And that is where the difference is that we're not trying, and we don't want to sell you everything. We can, but the idea is, what is the biggest impact for you? What is the biggest pain point? And then we want to give you a full picture of the ecosystem so you understand what you're stepping into and how that's going to affect your lives in a daily way, monthly way, yearly way. What is the return on investment in terms of reduction of labor hours into certain processes, so you can reassign those to other things, to the efficiency of the data, and how that really affects the numbers, and how that fact that you can reconcile your books faster, right? Usually you get them 2 to 3 weeks for the month before, and then you have to start the next month. And if we can reduce that time by days or weeks, all those things are what we want to do before we even sign that contract, and just make them understand. And that's where I think that the bigger picture of consultative selling comes in, is just, how does this really affect downstream? And then we are a SaaS company, and they want, at the end of the day, they want the integration to work, right? And it's really easy when you think of SaaS, you think of, what does onboarding and support look like? We have self-onboarding, right? We have automated platforms that make it as easy as possible to onboard into our systems and in the process, but there's always someone available. And we make sure to over-communicate what that support channel looks like, so that you have support on a regular basis. You have, we kind of walk with them through the whole process from start to finish to going live, right?
We do. We definitely do.
So when we talk about consultative selling, I think a great example, a really cool project that we just completed was Midas Hospitality. And 60 hotels, multiple different systems. And you have to understand why this is so impactful is, some hotel chains have one PMS and one accounting. They are able to streamline. But some other chains or groups have what are called branded hotels. And if it's a Marriott, it's a Wyndham, a Choice, Hyatt, whatever it is, some of those brands have to use certain tools. So they could have 6, 7 PMSs, but one accounting system, and they have to create a process that works for all those different systems. And those systems are very different, which is what happened with Midas. So walk me through, when we were going through the whole process of Midas, and we're thinking of the consultative lens, what were some of the things that we had to put in place to make sure that we can deliver? And then what I'm really excited about is, what systems did we unlock with this project that we're really excited for 2025?
Yeah, so let's kick it off with the systems. The systems we connected were the PMSs, which are used by Hilton, Marriott, and IHG hotels. So those are ONQ, PEP, Fosse, and Opera on-prem. Each of those systems is a great system in its own way, I would say. But one thing for sure is that they were never built with the intention to have fully automated accounting connectivity between the PMS and any sort of ERP or accounting system. That is specifically the solution that we have been delivering and that we have been working on for Midas. I think it's been a great project. Honestly, I can't thank the Midas team and our other partners within this project enough, because they've been delivering great work, and they've been putting in all of the effort that I've ask them to put into the project. But what I'm really proud of, I would say, in this project is that, because those property management systems are more like legacy systems, we say they lack functionality. They don't lack functionality, I guess, but they do lack functionality when it comes to transferring accounting entries to the accounting system, right? And that is something that we have covered on the Omniboost end with some very technical but still strong workarounds. And it was such a great process, not because of the communication with our partners alone, but also because of the internal communication we've had with our tech teams, with our engineers, all of the due diligence and the checks we've done before implementing such a workaround. And then ultimately seeing those workarounds coming into place and seeing what the results are, and having a fully automated accounting connection for 30 plus hotels is just an amazing thing to see.
Yeah, it was an amazing project. And I think it was one that really highlighted what we can do as a company and what makes us unique in terms of our approach to selling and what we call consultative SaaS. And I will say, though, Workaround, it's not really a workaround. It's, I want to clarify, because when we hear workaround, it could be a positive or a negative. What we do is, because of our unification platform and our semantics layer, we're able to take the data from all these systems and basically manipulate it to fit the accounting or ERP system. And we're able to do that because we've worked with so many different systems, the depth and breadth of what we've done, whether it's consume flow, close flow, whether it's USLE standard or whatever standard you're using, whether it's US versus Spain to France to Germany to UK, we have built the semantics layer into our process so that we can really create the efficient automation of the data. And it was a team effort. It was an effort from the client. It was an effort from all of our partners involved. It was a huge effort from our tech team, our support and onboarding team. There are so many people involved in that, but that's what you get when you get a consultative SaaS. A lot of times when you SaaS, you pay, you sign up, and it's supposed to work. And then you're lucky if you get support. Well, you have automated support, but you're lucky if you get real support. What we do differently is we're there to hold your hand all the way through. We're not going to leave you high and dry. We're going to make sure that we are with you every step of the way and really drive the best overall solution that we can. And it makes it fun, does it not?
Yeah, it makes it, real fun. After the project, something that I've definitely shared with everyone involved is, if you need anything, in the upcoming weeks or months or years, just let me know, whatever it is about. I would be happy to jump on this meeting because we've done this together. We've learned so much throughout the project, especially about the systems and the solution, that, the fact that we're actually proud about the solution makes us into a company that is still happy to, talk about it with the clients later on. If it's, an issue, we can solve it, obviously, but there's always more to the table that we can help clients out with. And I think the approach we take within our consultative projects as a SaaS company means that we build long-term partnerships. And me doing those projects is not just a moment of being proud; it's also a moment of building this company and expanding our portfolio of clients with a strong partnership. And
yeah,
that's a nice part about it.
It is super interesting, and it really creates this opportunity for us to continue to work at a deeper level with so many different systems and people and companies and things. And that's what I think makes our SaaS solutions so unique, because we add that layer of the consultative layer into it. And that's something that is driven at every layer of the company, right? From our founder, who talks about it incessantly, to all of our frontline teams, where we take the methodology of unreasonable hospitality. We are always going to figure it out and solve a problem. And that is who we are at our core and our core DNA.
Yeah, I mean, I would say, and this is something that's very often said within the hospitality industry, right? Whatever vendor, whatever product you have, is it's always said, we want to give time back to people within the hospitality industry. I think what we do is give time back to people, but also give people the opportunity to always reach out to us and have a chat about whatever is going on. Because in the end, we're all working together in this industry. You can give time to people and they can spend with loved ones and have some spare time and do nice things.
Yeah.
But in the end, if you're working and you have a question or an issue, you need to be certain that you can reach out to someone and get that answer within the next 5 minutes. And that is what Omniboost does with clients.
It could also be the next couple hours or within a business day, not always the next 5 minutes.
I mean, Rob, my standards are very high.
That I know.
I've been in the onboarding team for a long time. SLAs and the likes,
yeah,
I need to respect them.
Absolutely.
But 5 minutes is a bit short, but you know what I mean.
I love it. And this is where, as you said, you're based out of the Netherlands, up in Utrecht, just outside of Amsterdam. You're in New York often. I'm over there often. Our team is very fluid in terms of being kind of everywhere. So how do you kind of structure management, right? We have clients all the way from Hawaii to across the globe in Europe and EMEA, all the way out to APAC and Australia and New Zealand. We jump on calls at different times. So how do you kind of manage from a global standpoint to handle that schedule while also, finding time to sleep and eat and be a human?
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, it can be a real challenge, but over time you get better in managing your schedule and understanding when you can have a meeting and when you can definitely not have a meeting. I think that in the beginning of doing this and managing a global set of clients ranging from the western coast of the US up until New Zealand was definitely a challenge and something I couldn't really manage that well. I mean, I could manage it, but I was having meetings at 7 a.m. in the morning and still doing meetings at sometimes 9 or 10 p.m. in the evening and not really taking off a few hours in between because I felt like, hey, I got to cover my emails, I got to cover my meetings, I got to prepare them. I think right now it's going way better because I do those US hour days, right? So I start a little later in the morning and then work until 8 or 9 p.m. sometimes. But also sometimes it's, although you want to serve clients and you want to have those meetings with clients to help them out or with prospects, it's also about protecting yourself a bit, right? And sometimes it's all about saying, hey, I'm sorry, this day doesn't work for me for this or that reason. Can we meet a few days later? And in most cases, clients are totally okay with that. And I think as long as you respect that schedule, things work out. Yeah. But still, it can be a challenge, especially, if your chief commercial officer reaches out, hey, we need to have a chat. We have this big opportunity. What are we going to do? Then I'm not going to say, hey, sorry, Rob, I'm not meeting you. So
yeah, it's a balance, right? And I think what I love about it, and part of what we've continued to build is we also, with our clients and customers, protecting your calendar a little bit is smart, but also giving the reason, not just say I can't make it. Hey, I could make it, but for my calendar, it'd be better if we do this or this. Because usually if you just give them the reason that you're not available, but I can do it the following day or the day after, it's usually okay. And obviously there's certain exceptions to the rule of things that need to happen now, problems, solutions, whatever, sometimes tight timelines. But one of the things that we've worked on heavily is protecting your time, right? And setting up that schedule. And then we've also been bringing people in, we're obviously in New York, we have a New York US team, have a lot of people in Europe. We've also have a couple of people over in the APAC as we're expanding out there and looking at expanding offices across Dubai and Singapore. So we're continuing to grow our team, put people in different time zones to be able to locally establish that. Internally with our team, we have folks who've spent years living in markets and working in markets that we can leverage that kind of cultural understanding of the markets and building that out, and then utilizing our team and the way we're building to put the right people in the right positions while also having that kind of good global structure and scalability, which I think is really important. And I think a really cool piece that we've really managed to find those differences. Because as you know, like Tuesday, Thursdays are my early days, European hours, and then Monday, Wednesday, Friday, my US hours. And we have those things where we can really scale out and really create scalability together. And that's what I think makes us so unique everyone on the leadership team is willing to jump on a call at 11 p.m. or 5 a.m. And every support frontline is willing to jump on a call at 5 a.m. or 11 p.m. if it makes sense. And that's the difference. You protect your time, but you also offer flexibility to be there when our customers need it most. And that's part of that consultative SaaS methodology mindset of being unreasonably hospitable.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, we all know this, but people within the hospitality industry are very appreciating of others overall. And the flexibility we offer is something that's recognized by a lot of clients and partners. So indeed, we have those meetings every now and then where it's 10 or 11 p.m. your local time and you're still in that meeting and you see this black background and people say, hey, where are you at? I'm in Amsterdam. Isn't it like 10 or 11 p.m. over there? Like, yeah, it is. Like, oh, wow, I really appreciate your time. Yeah. And that, builds the trust along the process together with this consultative approach, and it just all adds up.
Yeah, I love it. And it's really impactful and important. And as we head into 25, really excited about what we can offer, having advanced capabilities. Not only, we have over 80 accounting systems, 50 PMSs, 35 POSs, and then a multitude of other things in marketing and inventory management. And you can look at our website. There's a lot for me to rattle off on this, but I really am excited about what we've been able to unlock this year from Fosse, from O&Q, PEP, Opera Cloud, Opera On-Prem, V5.5 and 5.6, Lightspeed Galaxy, some of those older systems, but then obviously our connectivity to the Muses, the Cloudbeds, the Stay in Touches of the world, down to the Vivos and the Nuvies, right? And when you look at all these different systems and our ability to support all those things really allow us to provide data unification and be a go-to. And we want to continue to be a go-to for the industry to really help make things happen. And I think that is the most impactful thing that we continue to build on at the company. I was going to say on the team, but I think company-wide, everything we do, we always think about, how does it impact Omniboost and the wider ecosystem.
Yeah. I mean, it's almost scary at this point how many, PMSs and point of sales we have connected and into how many accounting systems we have done that. I'm very excited for 25. Because of a variety of reasons. It's, mostly the team, the motivation we see, but also the systems we've unlocked. Some of those systems have been there for the past 30 or 40 years, and they're huge, and there's so much potential, and that's great to see. It's going to be a busy year, I guess. Definitely, there will be challenges, and we will have busy schedules where we have to hop on a meeting at 8 a.m. and do another one at 8 p.m. But it is what it is. Yeah.
And I think 25 is going to be a great year. We're going to also be growing the team, growing the company. We have we're over 7,000 integrations in 85 countries, if I'm not right.
I think it's 7,500 right now.
So 7,500.
Not entirely sure, but I think it is.
I mean, you might know better than me, but 7,500 integrations across 85 countries. Is amazing. And the amount of systems we have connected, the amount of I always like to talk about processing volume, the amount of things that we process on a daily basis. I think over 6 million processed on a given day is amazing, if not more. And that is something that is just going to continue to expand. And with the capabilities of our system and what we are continuing to build into our systems, but also leveraging our data services and the full-on warehouse capabilities for further connectivity, further unification. We want to help unlock potential with these systems and help hoteliers, whether it's independent through big chains and everything in between, from management companies to hospital groups to restaurant groups. If we can help, that's what we want to do. We want to make things smoother. And really, we always talk about freeing up time. We brought this up earlier. I think what's really impactful is freeing up time for a purpose, so that time could be given back for the right things, improvement on product, improvement on guest experience, customer satisfaction. You can spend less time fixing things on the back end so you can spend more time focusing on your core business, then that's what makes us happy. Our core business is to help you focus on your core business. And that is something that we get to do. And it's so much fun working with these groups to do so. So I'm excited for 25, excited to see you continue to grow as you take on your next level of the career as the global sales lead for a new business. A lot of challenges coming up for you, but also a lot of growth. And this was a lot of fun. I was really glad to first podcast ever.
First podcast ever. Yes.
First of many as you continue to get out there and going to have you back on to talk further in 25 as we continue to grow and expand and really build out this Omniboost rocket ship, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'm excited for it and excited to be in New York next year, flying over every now and then. I'm not going to do no caffeine for 24 hours on those planes, but it's going to be a good year.
Awesome. Well, we're excited for next year and really glad that you've been through the journey with Omniboost and started from the bottom and worked your way up to this role. And I think that makes what we do unique. So many of our sales team have worked in the industry, come up through our company and really, everyone in the company kind of goes in and does some sort of what we call our tour of duty. So we understand what building a pipeline looks like, understanding what an integration does and how it makes a difference to, if we're going to sell it, we're going to know how to do it. And I think that's also part of what makes us different. So excited for 25, hell of a job in 24, and looking forward to taking this thing next level. Appreciate you, Romano.
Thanks, Rob. Appreciate it.
All right. That has been another episode of Hospitable. As always, be a tier 1, like, rate, subscribe, review. If there's people that should be on, if there's topics you want to cover, if there's feedback you have, click the link down below. Let us know. Really appreciate you. And until next time, stay well.